Okay, this is a another attempt to do some first videos for YouTube. Um, I talk a lot about how very fortunately a few years ago when I was trying to figure out how to look and take pictures of knife edges so I could talk to people about these kinds of issues, I happened to stumble on an incredible sale at Amazon of a metallurgical microscope that they were selling for just a couple $100. And this is like $1,000 microscope designed for looking at metals, like the metal edge of a knife. And it has special features to help you do that. And I'm just using the basic features. It did arrive as a very large box, refrigerator-sized box full of pieces of metal that you had to put together. So maybe that's why it discouraged other people from buying it on Amazon. Maybe that's why Amazon wanted to unload it. It's about $1,000 microscope from Amscope. The camera is a little bit old technology. I also have technology for putting a new Nikon digital camera on there to take pictures. Either way, it takes a fair amount of effort to take photographs. I've taken some photographs. The photographs are not nearly as beautiful as the image of a knife blade edge when you look through the binocular images. What you can see is amazing, short of an X-ray microscope. This is about as good as you can get. Again, about $1,000 student level, college student level metallurgical microscope, like you might see in a metallurgical department in a college university setting. It came with a typical microscope, little clip, 3-inch glass slide adapter. I took that off. I put in some double-faced tape, leaving the backing on here to give me a slippery surface. I left one sticky piece of tape on here. I happen to have a piece of old plexiglass lying around that gives me a bit bigger stage to put knives on. I can't quite see the entire edge of a large knife here in one pass, but I can set it up and I stick it on here on the tape, and then by twiddling the slide knobs I can make the entire thing, including a knife that I put on there, go back and forth or in and out. And compared to maybe the high school microscope you played with in Chem Lab or whatever, this, instead of being one monocular, is binocular plus a third thing that can look at the same time, so it's considered a trinocular microscope. And compared to, I don't know, the high school microscope where you may have had trouble getting light to shine in the right place onto your slide, this thing has two collinear light sources, one of which shines up from the bottom and will create a shadow image of your knife edge. Another light from here goes down through the imaging lens and shines directly onto the top of the metal from the imaging edge. Let me just put a little bit bigger knife on here to show you what's going. I have a couple lumps in here of clay, which is like a 3M poster mounting clay, or putty, I think they call it, mounting putty. What do they call it? I don't know. I don't remember what they call it. But it is kind of, as you've seen it, people take little bits of this clay and they use it to stick a poster on a wall or whatever at your place of work or your school. And I've made a couple bigger sticky pieces of clay here. And the reason for that is my knife edges are sharpened to about 15 degrees. You want to tilt the the knife up 15 degrees so the light directly bounces off that sharpened edge. On a optical microscope like this, you can't really directly see the edge. The edge would actually be like this. To see the actual edge, you would have to have an X-ray microscope, which some people have used. I guess they have access to a college X-ray microscope department or something. I don't have that. Electron microscope, I guess they're called. I don't have that. I have an optical stuff. You can do a tremendous amount with an optical microscope. It's really, really easy to use compared to an electron microscope. It's really, really fast compared to an electron microscope. So I can learn a lot about the process of sharpening, and looking at knife edges really, really easy. I've looked at thousands of knife edges by now, and so I can usually recognize pretty quickly what's going right or wrong with a knife. Again, I'm just a hobbyist. I like playing around with this kind of stuff. It just happened because Amazon sold me a microscope, a metallurgical microscope, really, really cheap. I don't know if you can see here, but I can I usually turn on the bottom illumination that shines light up here, and then I can look in the microscope and I can line up the edge of my knife so I can see what's going on by watching the shadow that's cast. And like always with microscope, you have twiddly knobs that allow you to, oh come on, what's going on? That allow you to bring the thing that you want to see into the middle of the view, which in my case is the edge of the knife. And then I have a second twirly knob here that I can turn on to illuminate the top of the knife. And I have a couple of knobs down here where I can get sharpness. And I can see right here a little chip in my blade. You can't see it because I don't have a picture to show you right now, but I've got a chip in there. I can see the original sandblasted finish of the knife, and then I see a section that I hand polished using Japanese whetstones, and then I see another section on top of that that I've sharpened using this stage 2 of a Trizer XV Chef's Choice knife sharpener, and then that has been smoothed out a little bit using a stage 3. And I talk about chips. These are microscopic chips. They're on the sort of size of a couple nanometers, so you'll never see them with your naked eye, but I can see them and I can see what's going on. I can also see that 99% of the edge is beautiful, and it just goes straight to infinity and then disappears where it runs into the bevel on the other edge. And I know from past experience that's a really good sign. Okay? So I take some pictures with this. I don't take a whole lot of pictures because pictures are a real pain in the ass to make. You can also make movies of this thing. It's a pain in the ass to make. But I've done some, and maybe I'll show some of those later here. I don't recommend that, obviously, that every hobbyist goes out and buys something like this. But if you're in the knife sharpening business, you know, this might be a very good investment because you can see what's actually going on. You can see what you need to do to fix a customer's knife. You don't have to over sharpen it just because you don't see it and don't know what's going on. I'm a big fan on what I call the conservationist approach to knives, where I just want to take as little off the edge as possible to get the knife back to sharp. I don't like it when I see people running knives through a lot of band sander type things and grinding a knife up into a bunch of dust. Okay, I'm taking off literally about 100,000ths of an inch off the edge of my knife when I resharpen it every time, so it'll easily last a lifetime the way I do things. Okay, let's leave it there for right now, and then hopefully I can bring up some photographs if I can figure out how to do that and show you guys some photographs of what's going on with this thing. Looking at a video taken through the microscope to try and give you a little bit of a feel what it's like to use the microscope. Turned on the backlighting so we can see a shadow of the edge. This is actually a good edge. It looks like a mess, but it's not. Now I turn on the front lighting so you can see some of the shape of the edge there. As I move the knife edge around in the view screen, I can get different effects. I can look at different parts of the knife. Okay, that is a chip, but it's a microscopic chip. It's too small for you to ever see it with the naked eye. It's a few millionths of an inch. Okay, this is actually a very sharp knife. You can see the edge goes in a straight line to infinity and then disappears where the other bevel meets it. This is not a rounded off bevel or anything. This is a perfectly straight. This is a dull steak knife, number 1. This is a dull steak knife, number 2. And a dull steak, number 3. This is a very dull paring knife used as an envelope opener. Another image of the same dull paring knife. An edge-on view of the dull paring knife, so dull you can see the edge. A Mac Japanese slicer, very sharp. Very used Mac with microchips, still very sharp. Sharpened, very sharp. A sharpened and stropped steak knife, a little bit overstropped. Another view of the same knife. Before stropping, not very sharp. A new box knife is shipped, very sharp. After stropping, the edge looks a bit cleaner. Use a ceramic honing rod on it and it's messed up. Brand new Feather Pro razor blade, supposedly the sharpest knife in the world. A sharp 30-year-old German paring knife. After smooth sealing it, the sharpness went down a bit. After using a ceramic rod on it, it went way down in sharpness. Chef knife sharpened on Trizer XV, very sharp. Paring knife sharpened on Trizer XV, very sharp. A so-called smooth seal isn't smooth under the microscope, it's abrasive. A potato peeler sharpened all the time, just using a ceramic honing rod. A Mac Nakiri sharpened to 12,000 using Japanese waterstone. A very used as purchased Kiwi brand veggie cleaver. The same knife after the course first days of a Trizer XV. Then after a 3,000 Japanese waterstone. And after an 8,000 Japanese waterstone. And after a 12,000 Shapton waterstone. Another view of the same knife, very sharp. But after being smooth sealed, not so good. And after being smooth sealed even more, even worse. A better photograph using my Nikon camera attached to the microscope. An as shipped 20-degree bevel, Chef's Choice BD 1N. Starting to convert it to 15 degrees using the Trizer XV. After stage 3, it's very sharp, but you can see hanging sharp, which people erroneously call a burr, another view of the same knife. Thanks for watching.